Günaydın değerli misafirlerimiz, hanımefendiler ve beyefendiler. Bir kez daha salonumuza ve sabahın ilk seansına, ilk oturumuna hoş geldiniz. Winter League'in ikinci günündeyiz. Bildiğiniz üzere dün birbirinden değerli konuşmacılarımız bu sahnede bizleri bilgilendirdiler. Çok önemli konular hakkında bilgiler aldık. Ve yine bugün de birbirinden değerli konuşmacılarımız sahnede olacaklar. Ve birazdan kendilerini ilk oturumumuz için sahneye davet edeceğim. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and one more time, welcome to Winter League. Today is our second day. As you recall, yesterday we had a very interesting guest speakers on the stage, as well as today. And right now I will be proud to announce them on the stage. Today's panel will be on the topic of contemporary trends in athletic performance. Bugünkü ilk konumuz, ilk oturumumuz, modern trendler, atletik performanstaki modern trendler hakkında olacak. Ve şimdi de müsaadenizle konuşmacılarımızı sahneye davet etmek istiyorum. I would like to announce the speakers of today on the stage. İlk konuşmacımız Polonya'dan geliyor. Our first speaker is Head of Sport Science at MKS Pogoń Szczecin. With your applause please. Alkışlarınıza davet ediyorum. Rafal BURYTA. Welcome. Ve sıradaki konuşmacımız da yine Türkiye'den. The next speaker is from Turkey. She is a Movement&Training at Akdeniz University. Kendisi Akdeniz Üniversitesi'nde Doc.Dr. Sayın Tuba MELEKOİDLU hanımefendiyi de alkışlarla sahneye davet ediyorum. Hoş geldiniz. And the moderator of this session will be a person you already know from yesterday. Dünden tanıdığımız tanıdık bir sima. Yine alkışlarınızda co-founder of Sports Fitness, Mr. Casper SKOVGAARD. Casper, the stage is yours. Good luck.
Thank you. So there's been this last-minute substitution due to illness. So I will be the moderator of the talk. I won't go into details about the actual presentation of yours. You can do that by yourself. But at the end, I will maybe challenge you a bit with some questions. Hopefully they're tricky enough so we can have a great discussion. Otherwise, I'm looking forward to both of your presentations. And yeah, I hope you will enjoy this session. Thank you.
Good morning. First of all, thank you very much for the invitation. It's a big pleasure for me to be here and to present what we are doing every day in our club, Pogoń Szczecin. I am, first of all, coach because, yes, of course, I know that it is like a sports science. I am a sports science, but for me, more important is that I am a coach. Why? Because what is the science without practice? This is only theory. So that's why I want to explain how to compare these two topics, like a science and like a practice. Few words about my past and present. I start as a head coach in a women's team in Szczecin with a license UEFA A, Olympia Szczecin. After this, I'm right now 9 years as a strength and conditioning coach in Pogoń Szczecin Ekstraklasa, the highest level in Poland team. And during this time, I were a strength and conditioning coach in a basketball team with one coach. So I think that it is enough experience to work with a few coaches, really few different coaches, because my idea is always like I am only assistant, nothing more. Because if you start to think that you are sports science, you are head of sports science, head of strength and conditioning, it doesn't work. Because at the end, it's only one boss in our staff. This is the biggest topic. Our boss right now is Costa Runjaic. We work together right now more than 4 years. And 4 years ago when Coach Costa is coming to Pogoń, we were on a bottom in our league. We are close to relegate to first league. After 3 years, last season we finished with a bronze medal. Right now, after one round, we are on a second place and we fight for champion. This is our coaching staff and medical staff. I am part of both of this, and for our head coach, I am between these two staff, fitness coaches and medical. And I have two assistants. One is a coach which helped me in a especially strength training and return to play for players after injury. Second one is an analysis of GPS. He's cutting, I will say about it a little bit later, cutting every session during the session so we can live watch our each session. This is my two jobs. Every day I'm working on a university as a head of physiology laboratory, and in a Pogoń Szczecin, like I said, as a sports scientist and especially as a strength and conditioning coach. I think I should switch it because, like I said, first of all, I am a coach. In a sports science, it's the most important is theory and why we do something. In the practice, in the sport, is how we do it. First question is it easy to cooperate between these two jobs? It's easy when you have a very good head coach, very good staff, and we understand each other. Because mostly sports scientists thinking like what is in theory should be in practice. It doesn't work like this. This is very, very big gap between these two parts. Especially in this kind of sport like is soccer, because if you are working with, because in my past I work a little bit with individual sports, it's in my opinion, much easier when you prepare somebody few months to one competition, and it's not so easy when you prepare players to competition every week or even every 3 days. About traveling, I will speak about it later. This is very important, good regeneration, how, and especially monitoring of the player, how it works during every session, every game. How it started, like I said, 9 years ago, it was polar system only, a lot of cables, and during the training only one answer, heart rate. It was everything. Right now, during the training, I have iPad, my colleague sitting on a tribune, he cut every session, I see every movement of the players during the session. We can decide with the coach during the session, it's enough, we can do more, this player is enough, this player can do more. This is totally different world. 9 years and totally different world. And like I said, I started in the club as a first fitness coach in the club and nobody else. Right now, after 9 years, I have very, very big team because in our academy and in my club, I am head of sports science, head of strength and conditioning, and I have 10 colleagues which are working with me in the club as a strength and conditioning coach. How it starts, how it works, how we start this project. I know that in the clubs, mostly we don't have money for this kind of people. I start very easy because I'm working on a university. 9 of these 10% were my students, or are still my students. I asked them for some internship. I asked club, can we start with the internship for these young people? Give them a little bit practice. And it was acceptation. After few weeks, few months, club decided, hey, we can't work without him. It's a very important person for us. Every coaches in academy say, we can't work without them. It starts like this. So we need to find some money to pay them. And it starts year by year. Right now, like I said, we have 10 fitness coaches, with me, 11 fitness coaches in the club. The same is the second topic. I don't present it here, but I'm responsible still with the medical staff in academy. It worked like the same. I asked first for 3 physios for internship. they go for some camp, coach is coming, hey, without them we don't win anything. It is very important person for us. And we start like this. And the same, we have 10 physios in the club right now. So it is very easy for me because I'm working on a university and in a club. I think that it is the best idea for a lot of clubs to give hands for the young students. Help them, and they will give back in the work later for us. Next topic, very difficult starting with equipment in a club without big money. To explain for president, for our board, how important is the monitoring. Right now, like I said, after 9 years, we have three teams. First team, second team, and under 18 uses catapult system. And next two teams, under 17, under 15, uses Polar Team Pro with a GPS system. So it means we have 5 teams, top teams in our club, which are monitoring, everyday monitoring. They have everyday monitoring. I know how improve our coaches, not fitness coaches, our head coaches in each of this group. Now they understand how it works, their job. I'm speaking with this coach, he said, hey, 2-3 years ago, it was a different world for me. Now I understand every exercise, intensity of this exercise, intensity of the training. But is it important in these youngsters, this intensity? We speak about it a lot. So that's why in our club, only these 3 teams play for winning. Rest team, not only this, and even youngsters, don't play for results. Of course, it must be at the end, because it's important for every player, every coach to win the game. But it's not so important to be fresh on every game. We build players for the first team. Every player should know that I have a chance to play in the highest level in Poland, in Pogoń, not in a different club. We have a lot of youngsters players even in a camp here in Turkey. They are from, if I remember, because I'm working 9 years in Pogoń, from about 4 or 5 years, every youngster who's come with us in a camp, they are on the same or similar level like our players, everyday players in the first team. It was our plan to prepare player. When he come to the first team, he must be ready. He must be ready from the theory or tactic. He must be ready from the fitness. He must be ready technically. Okay, he doesn't have experience. And only one thing, no experience. Rest, he must be ready. And right now we have this kind of players. I think that in Poland we are one of the top club with the youngsters in the first team. So how we use it? After every game, after every weekend, fitness coaches prepare for me, for their coaches, map with a position map after the game on every position, every details, not every detail, the most important details like total distance, high speed running, sprints, acceleration, deceleration, average speed, and maximum sprint during this game, and load of the player. And RPE is a next topic which we put on this map too. So we build like a map position which we need for every team. And if we want to take one player from the second team, from the under 18, we know from the last season, for example, is it good for us or not? Is it, from the fitness point, he's ready to play on this position in this team which we have right now or not? This is very important information at the end to prepare players for this structure which we play in Ekstraklasa. But what is the science? All of us know that science is, for people who are working in the science, what is the topic, but we know how it works every day, that people see only small things, small different things, and want to say that what is a science. After every game, we have a lot of information from the reports of the TrackUp. TrackUp is a system which works in World Cups, or mostly in the Champions League. I think Bundesliga has this. In the Polish, we have few years these reports after every game. This is a local position, so cameras on each stadium, local position during the game. I can check our team and opposite team, how we are running, how many sprints, and a lot of information. And after the game, of course, we have a lot of information from Instat, fitness reports, technical, tactical reports. It is a lot of information. But at the end, we should ask, is it everything so important? We have, like I explained, few things which we need to present for our players, our coaches. So for my head coach, he said, hey, you are filter here. You can check everything what you want, but I need only short answer, how I can use it during the game, during the training. Don't tell me everything, because when we start cooperate, it was like I want to explain everything, because we meet first times, I don't know what he wants from me. I know what I want to explain him. He said, wait, not so fast. You are filter. You want to know everything about it, but give me only the most important information. Next things we should ask ourselves, where develop our discipline? Where is how it is, what kind of discipline is it? Is it fitness the most important in soccer? If we compare the very good book of Paul Larsen and Martin Boucher, they explain 3 kinds of disciplines, like a triathlon, rugby 7, and soccer. In triathlon, results from a fitness point, physically points is about 85%, rugby 7, 40%. I totally agree that in soccer it's about 30% is a physical preparation. So, next question. We should put everything to the fitness only? I know a lot of fitness coaches which think that the fitness is the most important in soccer. I don't agree totally. So that's why it's very important to very good cooperation with the assistant of coaches from the soccer, from the head coach, to speak about it, what is the most important right now. Because when we want to prepare every session, we don't have time to do everything. I know in our academy, because in our academy, we have the most training session during the week in Poland. I spoke with coaches in other clubs. They said, hey, are you crazy? A lot of training sessions. I said, yes. Before my working in the university, I worked at school as a teacher, sport classes. I saw that boxing, swimming, they work very hard to last result. And we start the same in Pogoń. Right now, we have this result because, like I said, young players coming to first team and they are ready. We prepared them last few years in our academy. But even in this, a lot of training session, always soccer coaches said, we don't have time for this. Fitness coaches said, we don't have time for this. It's impossible to do everything. So that's why we should understand soccer. What is at the end result? Skills, tactic, and physical. It's not everything only physical. And I agree totally. Even if I'm fitness coach, I agree with these numbers. This is old, even very old picture, but it explains us close to 10 years ago how improve in England soccer. Especially like total distance a little bit go down, but intensity is higher and higher and higher. I saw the same because like I said, I'm 9 years in the Pogoń right now. I am watching every day session, every game, every season. I saw that this is the same in Poland. Our games are more and more on the highest level of intensity, especially. So we should check how to prepare players for this, because it doesn't work like hop and we can run faster, we can do more acceleration. No, we should prepare players. What is a question about what is a statistic? What is an average? What does it mean, this word? This is one of the best. I have one friend in university from statistics. He told me, you know what does it mean, statistic? When you go for a walk with your dog, each of you has 3 legs. This is statistic. Average 3 legs for one person. And this guy read what is the average depth of this leg. So be careful with all statistics and with to put average. So that's why the most important thing is to prepare individual data, individual program for every player. From the track-up system, like I said, we have information that sprint is on a 25.2 kilometers per hour for every player. So, if we compare two players, I have this kind of two players in a team right now as the central defenders. One is very explosive, second one not so explosive. It is genetic, training, last year's, a lot of things. If we compare these two players and put the line 25.2 kilometers per hour, first guy has only small part of his running as a sprint. Second one has a big part as a sprint. So if we compare these two players, at the end result is first player has 0 meters on a sprint, second, for example, 33.7 meters on a sprint. For scouting, it's very good, because if we need for our team faster player, so this data is very good. These players will be fast. But if we want to understand our everyday session, every training, individualization of this, it doesn't work like this. Because if we check, first player has 27 kilometers per hour maximum sprint, second one 32, we take it from this 80% of maximum, this is sprint. So first has a sprint on a 21.6 kilometers per hour, his level of sprint, second one 25.6. And if we put it to the same tabulary, second player has the same result like before, but first one has 3 times more with the second. When we back here, this is 0, and now we have 3 times more. After the game, if we saw only this number, we said, hey, you don't run fast, you have even one sprint during the game. But if we compare with this result, we can say, hey, we have a lot of sprints or big distance, for example, during this session, during this game. For you, for your body, you invest much more than second player. So that's why be careful what we read, what we saw in some reports. But this is the same game for every player. For coaches, this data is more important. So that's why we compare these two. This is one from the track-up system, local position. Then second one, we put these numbers from the catapult system, and we have this 80% for each player. We can speak with the players individual with these results. But if we need faster player, we should remember what kind of injury players had during sprints, during high-intensity game, and a few things. One is a 4th minute of the game. One of the faster player in our team and finished the game for this guy. So it is always very difficult for us. Every player must be ready, but in the 4th minute, with the muscle, with the hamstring, he go to the coaches, but in that moment we have a very good result. If I could remember, it was 4-1 for us. So it is easy to change this player. But in the break time, I said to coaches, guys, this player, he's overloaded, because I see all the results during the break, and I see that he has the biggest number of sprints in this game from both teams, but he's not a sprinter. He's not a total sprinter. He's not his numbers. He's overloaded. Be careful. So, few minutes in the second half, and he gave a signal, hamstring, are not ready to play more. So, that's why it is very important to monitor during the game even, because this information is very important. To don't risk sometimes. Of course, we have a lot of data from UEFA, reports after every season, top teams from Champions League, all results, what kind of injury you have in these teams. Mostly is the hip, groin, thigh. It is about 45%, both. And what kind of injury? This is 45% is this muscle injury. We can check even how many training sessions per week or how many games per week per player missed on the highest level in Champions League. You can use this information from internet. Everything is open. So this is answer for us to be careful with these muscles. So after this, especially this first movie, which I explained, of 4th minute, we make next decision. We need to check players more and more. How to do it? 2 very good equipments, Nordboard, groin bar. Yes, we can speak with some company, give us for a few days, we can check. No, I said, we have a lot of players in our club, we should buy this. Like with catapult, this is a lot of money, this is next, a lot of money. But without money, soccer doesn't exist. This is invest. So we buy these 2 equipments and we check players before every round, and if there's some disbalance between muscles, especially abductors, especially hamstring, or not so good power which we need from the players, we can work on this and check after a few weeks, is it work? This training works for this player or not? Right now, from, I don't know, most times we don't have problems, or players which has a problem, we prepare for them individual training, individual session. Right now they have a less disbalance, for example, because sometimes it's not so easy to put the training during every session so fast to change this balance. And of course, when we speak with the coaches, soccer is the most important, not fitness. Soccer is the most important. We want to do everything with the ball. But our coaches agree, we are 100% that no, we really can run without ball. We can do a lot of jobs without ball. So that's why we have good cooperation and we can prepare better our players. But what is the best for the players? To make good intensity, high intensity, and have fun. Small games, the best. Always small games. But during games, during small games on small area, you can't run very fast. You can have a lot of acceleration, deceleration, changing direction, left, right, everything. High heart rate, but not sprint, not run on a high intensity. So that's why, really, few years ago we decided during small games, some games we play the band, but some games we should run to make a high intensity running, like on this movie. 2 teams play, 1 team has an additional running. And we change. So we produce these numbers which we need from this training. Without this running, there's no chance to prepare these players. Second, with the ball, it's much better to have a fun. Dribble the ball, run, high intensity pass, very easy exercise that you can use it in a training. And what do you want? High intensity running, no problem. With the ball, no problem. Much better fun for players, and they do what we want. This is from pre-season in Szczecin. This is from a few days ago here in Turkey. After every session, we send one more report to our physio, our medical staff, about this balance. This is next information from the catapult system, very important, very easy, because if this disbalance is during the session more than 10%, this is some signal, hey, something could be wrong. Of course, you can speak with the players. He has some problem with, I don't know, finger, something, small problem. Okay, his brain has an imbalance. Prepare this imbalance. But if something starts wrong, we have this information. Especially after injury, when he return to play, we can check every session with this percentage. So it is next very important information to save the players without injury. Because of my job on the university, I'm focusing on more tests from the physiology point of view, from the biochemistry. We have even here in the camp our small laboratory. We can check blood tests every 2 days. We are checking players if they are tired, if the muscle is ready for next session, and we can change our plan, because the plan is plan, but training is a training. We change the plan a lot even because of results from the blood. What we're checking, of course, this is a lot of information you can find in the internet, in science about monitoring of fatigue, but normally in a stretching laboratory we have big panel of results from the blood. Here we have two, in my opinion, important, which we use like a everyday session. First of all is a creatine kinase, but we should know that every result is so individual. I remember a lot of situations when one friend called me, hey, my player has this and this result. I said, yes, what is his resting level? I don't know. So I don't know if it's a big result or not. Few examples, I have a player which has, this is a result from the book, but it doesn't work like this. I have players which has, for example, 300 units is a very high level. Next players, 500 is at resting level. It is individual. So we should check for the starting without training each result of the player. And next is a urea. We use it as a kinase. It is a damage of the muscle. Urea is a fatigue of the muscles. Yeah? So we can check it every day, even yes, to after the training, how it works, is it good results or not, which players are tired. So we react, for example, 2 or 3 players are more tired, we give them some parts of training rest. The most important is to save the players, because we understand one important thing. If on a camp we have every day double session, if one player is missed 5 days, it means about from 8 to 10 sessions. It's a lot. So it's better to do a little bit less, but every session, then do a little bit more, but after this, even small injury is not good in that time. In the Polish map, we are on one of the worst place, because we have a lot of kilometers to every team. In one season, in this season, we will do about 10,000 kilometers. So after our traveling is horrible sometimes. When we can go, we go by plane, but when no, we go and back by bus. This is next topic which we should think about players, because when we back in the morning, sometimes when we back from the game in the morning, it's impossible to make a training during this day. So it's not easy again to compare it. These 2 slides is from last year, some information from internet, yes, that is good for us. Our league is one of the toppest league in high intensity running in Europe. Now few numbers from our team. 2 seasons ago, we had a good average of kilometers per game, and not bad, I think, but not enough for me, was about sprints during the game. Next season, we have a little bit more the total distance, but still not enough for me for sprints. So we decide before the season before to work on a high intensity. We want to play on the highest intensity, more sprints, more acceleration. So we change a little bit our plan step by step. And right now, when we check this after 1 round, we have the same or similar total distance. This is a multiple, this is like a fundamental. And we change a lot our high-speed runnings. We are one of the toppest team. But in a sprint, what was the most important for us, now we are top team in Poland. We have 108 per game, more than 2 kilometers per game distance in a sprint. It was what we want to take from each game. And high intensity running, this is sprint and high speed running. Both we are the best in Poland in a total distance and one of the best in the efforts from this. So we're working on this last few years, we worked on this for last few years, and now we have this result. And it's comparing with our place in a double R even, yes? I don't want to say that this is the most important, like I said, and because of this. It's not because of this. Because we want to play on a high intensity, we want to play every game with a lot of high intensity efforts, and we can do it because we prepare our players. What is the next? We want to look a little bit in the future in our club with cooperation with few universities in Szczecin. But I am responsibility to of fitness preparation on some plan in the academy, like I said. So I know that in our club we have a big problem in our country, big problem with the physical education at school. So this kind of program, this is program from 2 weeks ago, this is a program from last year. We go with the first team even for this kind of trainings like MMA, like a boxing. And our plan for our academy, because we wait for finishing building for our academy, now we are finished in Pogoń, and our plan is to put in a plan for every team, youngsters team, boxing, karate, wrestling, this kind of trainings to prepare them. Because really, when I go with the first team for this kind of training, and I can see this older player top, everything is top with this general training, development training, and when I see some youngsters, this is big problem. But really, we must be ready for everything. This kind of training has a lot of fun even for players. Go out from the pitch sometimes, make good session, they are tired, but with a really fun. What we can take more from a catapult system? They have from 1 year, I think, or even a little bit more, football movement profile. Now we can check every session, every exercise. How much is soccer, intensity soccer in this exercise? We compare it to the game, what we need from the game, and to every session. We collect these numbers, and we want to prepare the best as possible exercises for the player. We are working on a genetic in our university. These two professors, we compare a few years, and right now we check the biggest talents in the club to check them what kind of exercise they can do, what is injury prone, identify this injury prone, and even we check this when new player coming to our club, we check every players with more details. So we want to know, is it a big risk of injury from this player or not? And we want to develop with this program in next years. Next, we start to cooperate with the next university, Technology University in Szczecin, and we built very big database from each numbers, which we saw here, to only click, and I have this player, I know everything from last 2-3 years of this player. So it is a lot of work for these guys from the another university, but they help us really a lot. So this cooperation is very important. We want to prepare even in Excel some plan for coaches. We have in a plan in 1 year finish this. Every exercise which we record from the catapult. We have on a daily schedule for the training, each exercise, we should know what is the distance. For example, in the game 7 against 7, we play 5 minutes, 3 minutes. We know that will be this distance, this kind of this number of acceleration, deceleration, changing direction, sprints or not sprints, high intensity or not high intensity. Average from, for example, 50 of these games. We will know that if I want to make this during the training, I will have around about these numbers. This is very easy to plan, don't to do so much or too much during the session. And some message for the end. Like I said, sometimes we think too much about every session. A lot of coaches said, soccer is a very simple game. I agree, but don't think sometimes too much to change too much. If you have a good plan, a lot of changing sometimes destroy us, not help us. Second one is very important. Train as much as necessary, not as much as possible. Now we train smarter not harder. I remember a few years ago, this camps in Turkey was for players very, very difficult. Now, when they adapt, when we have more and more information from the monitoring, from every session, we can train much smarter. And for us as a coaches, remember about education every single day. But this is a science, this is a practice, but really, in my opinion, the most important is to have a fun for the players, for the staff. Team building is not only for players. If you have a good team with the coaches, we have fun, a lot of meetings. Together, you go to the work every day with a smile.
Yeah, you can take the stage, that's fine.
So let me start?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. It was really nice. So I'm Tuba from Akdeniz University. My research area is about exercise physiology and training science. Today I would like to talk about current researches in football. We can talk about sport and football and integration of university and research and football. First, I would like to show this diagram. In sport faculties or in sport science, we have lots of different branches. Some of them working about sociology, some of them physiology, but today I would like to talk about the health sciences, training sciences. That's why it's about the physiology, psychology, sociology, physiology, health, training, and performance researches. As you can see, there are lots of topics about researches, but most of them is about performance for football and physiology and training. Psychological and sociological researches are less than that. This is the research topics from last decade. As you can see, the outer circle is represents for last 3 years. The inner circle is the last year. Pointer çalışmıyor galiba. Okay, tamam. When we analyzing it, most of the researches in football is about injury. As we know that the economy of the football is so important, there's a very huge finance on it. So if the injury rates are increasing, everything getting worse. So that's why most of research on the football area aimed on the injury rates. And then later on, we can see that youth players. Female researches seems high, but when we analyze all of the diagram, you can see that 20%, 25% of researchers is on female football players, but the rest of them mostly in male players. That's why you can think that, okay, there are lots of research on female players, but it's not same as the diagram, because all of the rest is mostly on male players. I have research on retired players. I think it's really important because there's a discussion that if you play in if you play as an elite athlete, if you make your training high intensity, high level, after the retirement, it's everything getting worse. Because some of my colleagues say that sport is not good for health. Performance sport is not good for health. One of my colleagues told me that he's a medical doctor, he's a sports medicine doctor, and he told me that if sport is healthy, professional sport is healthy, why there is an area that sports medicine medical doctor? So there's a special area for it. Doing sport recreationally, is healthy, but if we increase the intensity level of trainings, the risk will also increase. That's why there are huge research about injuries, but it's really important to get the data from retired football players, what's going on them. But as you can see, there are just 1% of research about retired football players. I guess this is, how can I explain? It's not good for football science. So when we check the last year, we can see there is the red one is about the COVID researches. Because of the COVID pandemic, the training researches and the COVID researches increasing. You can see there's a 1% red. It's just for the 2019. It's not for the last 3 years. And then what's important, the increasing rate of GPS or match analysis researches increasing last years. And recovery researches are getting interest for the researchers. So today I would like you 2 topics about researches because there are lots of area, and one of is Generarum. It's including injury, youth, and load monitoring, because if you increase your training intensity, you can risk your especially young players to have this situation, and also you can lose your talents. That's why it's really important to monitoring if might be different reasons. It means it's the lower leg alignment. Sorry. Sunumda bir hata olabilir mi? Orada yazılar olacaktı. Okay. I think there's no. It's a misalignment of the lower leg, lower extremities. What does it mean? If you increase your, if you make football practices make some impact on lower extremities, and then your lower leg will, your lower leg alignment can be worsened. As you can see on the left side, he has a serious Generarum level, and at the right side, not too bad. So why it is so important for us to get rid of it or be cautious for this situation? If you have a player with Generarum level, he has a misalignment and he has a unwanted forces to his knee. As we can see in the last presentation, we see that most of the injuries happened on lower extremities in football. Okay, it's an impact branch, impact sport. Some of them may coming from the impact, the injuries. But if we have this, what should we do? Football practices, such kicking a ball, result in an asymmetric strengthening of the muscles on the inside of your legs and overloading of one side of the knee, which changes the angle of the top end of the shin bone as it grows, giving both leg alignment. And so it's important to check how many players do we have misalignment, and what is the prevalence of Generarum in adolescent football players. This is one of our researches. It's very easy to check it. Just you can check the intermalleol and intercondylar distance of your players. As you can see, if you can read, there's a 8 centimeters length between his intercondylar distance. We made a research from our volunteer group was starting from 10 years to 18 years. 10 years old players had 3 years football practice, and then we just compare them with intercondylar distance as an intercondylar distance. As you can see, with the age, when they are joining more football practices, their intercondylar distance increasing. So it's really risk for our players. The red line is the same age sedentary child, and they are not joining football practices. They are just joining the physical activities in their school. But the blue line they are football players, and after the 14 years old, you can see that their intercondylar distance increasing dramatically. And so we can see clearly that with football practices, intercondylar distance increasing. So it leads Genovarum. Okay, so why it is important for us? You can see that this is the knee joint of a young person, the left side. There's a growth plate and there's a distance between the knee joint. And when there's a slope in the knee joint, on the right side you can see it, there's a slope approximately 7 degrees, and the normal range is approximately 3 degrees. It's an ex-football player, about 40 years old, and you can see that its cartilage will be damaged, and later on during his life maybe he can suffer from patellofemoral pain syndrome, maybe other problems with his knee. Genovarum damages the tibiofemoral joint cartilage, which may then increase the risk of developing knee osteoarthritis in later life. So you have to be cautious for this situation with your young players, because because not every football player has Genovarum. We can say it. The condition is also associated with meniscal lesions, patellofemoral pain syndrome, and anterior cruciate ligament injuries, which we see mostly in our football players. So it's important situation. So what's happening when we are doing football practices? There are load-bearing football practices on the knee joint, running, passing, kicking, cutting maneuvers. It can promote Genovarum, and in football practices we are seeing that it's predominantly strengthening the adductor muscles. So the ratio of the strength of the muscles in the lower leg is really important. So we have to check it. We have to train equally. If you are because during the practices mostly we are using adductor muscles. So you have to strengthen your abductor muscles also. And when it happens, if there is a pulling strength of quadriceps femoris, this muscle, asymmetrically, there is an asymmetric growth on the knee joint, and some of researchers saying that maybe cleated shoes of the football restrict external rotation during standing. That might be a reason. It's a theory, but we can consider about it. And some of researchers says that maybe it's a selection bias, because if you have Genovarum, it maybe increase your balance and stability, but there is no research about that. We are using Genovarum as talent identification. We never check the players, the youngsters, if they have Genovarum or not. In our research, we see that at 10 years old, when they have 3 years experience of football trainings, they are same with sedentaries. The football players are same. But when they are going to 14 years old, it's important ages, because there's a rapid growing period on those years, and the Genovarum levels, intercondylar distance, increasing. So there are further studies are needed to investigate the prevalence, underlying mechanisms, injury risk factors, and prevention strategies in Genuvarum. We are planning to make a research about it with magnetic resonance imaging, and we will try to identify what underlying mechanism happens in football players. But for us in university, there was a question that, do you have a relationship with football clubs? In Turkey, I don't know how it is in university, but if you are not working directly in a football club, it's a little bit hard to get connection for professional teams. Because as a researcher, we would like to apply some interventions. So if you would like to do it, the trainer will say no, because I have a training program. So you can't try new training methods or new recovery methods because the trainer or the head coach don't want to do it. So the club's just asking us to analyze the team, maybe performance tests or analyzing the anthropometrical variables or with GPS system, intensity of the training, etc. But universities, research teams and football clubs, especially professional football clubs, should be in contact for researchers. Mostly we are doing our research in amateur leagues or not professional teams, because I can understand the coaches, it's really hard. It's a risk to change the program, and it doesn't make any sense that, okay, take my team and do whatever you want. It's impossible, I know that. But maybe there might be some contact points. You are lucky because you are both working in university and football teams, so you know what to do. You can contact directly with the coach and the intensity of the training, and you can arrange your maybe researches or the interventions with your team. But it's a little bit hard for us. For example, I'm working in Akdeniz University, and there's a professional team in Antalyaspor, and it may be a little bit hard to design some projects with them. So if you have a lab, performance lab, it's a chance for you. But in academy and in university and football, professional football clubs, there's a little bit gap, so we need to interact more efficiently. So I want to talk, if we have time, I want to talk another topic. It's heart rate variability. Lots of different branches using this variable to monitor their team's performance, recovery, or monitoring the load. So what is heart rate variability? It's really easy. It's really easy measurement. You just need a chest band, and you just need to get the heart rate, and you just need to measure the intervals between the heart rates. We are saying that when you see the QRS waves, the top one, and for us the important thing is how many milliseconds between the every pulse, every R waves. So we are calculating it, and we don't need to calculate it. It's a very easy application. You can use it by your phone. You just need to take the heart rates, and the applications are analyzing the data for you. So it's the best, or what, how can I say, the standard deviation or normal and normal intervals we are using mostly for heart rate variations. And also, if you would like to analyze it more deeply, root mean square of the successive RR interval differences, RMSSD, those are the two variables we are mostly using for heart rate variability. So what does it mean? For example, if you are in stress, you need to be in sympathetic mode. If you are training, if you are doing, if you are ill, if something getting wrong, if you are in stress, you are in sympathetic mode. We have autonomous nervous system, so we have to be in balance. When you are in rest, when you are sleeping, parasympathetical system is getting awake. So if you can see at the top of the graphic, absolute power of the low frequency band is low frequency. It represents the parasympathetic system. And the absolute power of the high frequency band is high frequency, is the sympathetic system. So in a healthy person, during breath, during respiration, it might be resting part and is parasympathetic system. And when you're running or doing something, your sympathetic system increase. I know it's a little bit scientific, so I will pass it quickly, but I will just like to show you the diagram in the bottom of that. As you can see, this heart beat is like a clock, beating like a clock. It's same intervals. It means that you are dead. You are in a machine maybe, because there is no parasympathetic system, no sympathetic system. You don't have your control on your heart, a machine just beating for yourself. So we would like to see the waves of the heart rate. Your heart rate shouldn't beat with same intervals. Fast, slow, fast, slow. It has to be changed. If you have different waves, it means that you are so strong. So how can we analyze it? When you get the data, you can put it on a power spectrogram. As you can see on the top side is parasympathetic zone. It's breathing, respiratory sinus arrhythmias representing those things. And the sympathetic zone is the central blood pressure rhythm, thermoregulation, etc. It's making you attacked, we can say like this. We take all of the data and just make it fancy, a little bit colorful. I would like to show you those diagrams so you can understand easily how we are analyzing it. At the top of side, this is Paul, is 15-year-old man, and as you can see, we can see both colors on the diagram, green colors and the red colors. It means that this boy has a strong parasympathetic system and strong sympathetic system. His autonomous nervous system is in balance, so it's good. He can. The black bar is represent sleeping time. During the sleeping time, as you can see the green dots there, it means that he's sleeping and he's recovering. But when you see the Hannah, 89 years old, you can see that there is no green line. It means that she can't recover herself because he's so old. It means that day and night are clearly distinguishable, and parasympathetic activation at night is conspicuous. So what about in players? What about in athletes? Here you can see he's a triathlete and he had a camp, 2 weeks camp. As you can see, he has a very good autonomous system. You can see both colors on there. But end of the first week, he had a very intense workout in the high altitude, stress, 4,500 meters. He had a 7.5 hours bicycling. And you can see that his parasympathetic system decreased. So the autonomous system is getting worse. After 2 days, you can see he can get the balance. And only 4 days after exercise, the parasympathetic activation reached approximately the initial values of the reference measurements. It means that in the first day, we shouldn't do training. We should wait 4 days for him to train again, because he's not recovered enough. Sometimes we think that after 48 hours may be enough for recovery. For this situation, as we can see, it's not. And this is another player, a cyclist. As you can see, he's really strong in the terms of autonomous system. And he had a race. Okay, he's a little bit stressed, we can see it. And then, as you can see, the green dots is disappeared. and they checked his blood test 2 days after the next race. A conducted blood test pointed that he has an infectious process. The heart rate variability analysis shows a significant reduction of parasympathetic activation during the night, and he had a flu. So after the flu, you can see that he reached the same levels. There's no abnormal activities. So how can we use it in football? To monitor systemic fatigue and recovery, to determine our intensity of training, we can use it, and to reflect the recovery status of our football players. And it's a very easy tool to determine if our players have overtraining or not, and to identify the players of the adaptation of the training, to predict the player's performance, and to predict susceptibility of the player, illness or injury. The heart rate variability may give you clue about the illness, even if there's no symptom. When it's getting worse, you can understand that there's something wrong with your players, and maybe health check may be useful for your players. There is a research, you can see that it's with the football players. They are checking HIV and ED. What is ED? The equivalent distance and equivalent distance index. Mr. BURYTA just talked about this. If you're running in a high velocity, high intense, your ED will be high. Because we are in last years, during the last decades, the football getting faster. So the research, most of the research aim on the acceleration and sprint abilities, and the equivalent distance index getting more important. So when they check the intensity of the distance was covered, they found that there's a very huge relationship with ARCH-AV results. The association between ED and heart rate variability suggests that when players were more recovered, as demonstrated by a higher heart rate variability, they were able to express higher ED. It means that if your players have a lower heart rate variability before the important match, maybe he will not able to show his best performance. But it depends of depends of the individuals, because every player has different heart rate variability levels and the standards. So it's important to analyze those data individually. And this is one of our research. It's just finished. It's on the Turkish national Greco-Roman wrestling team. My student in master degree is a national coach in wrestling team, our national wrestling team. So we decided to get heart rate variability data during COVID time, because they had 4 months the training period at their home because of the restriction, because of the pandemic. And we get the data of the heart rate variability during this period, and then later on they start their national team trainings. As you can see, during the day training, they have very low heart rate variability levels, and then later on, with the training, the heart rate variability increased. And then later on, they increase the intensity of their loading, high load training zone. As you can see, with the increasing of the training intensity, heart rate variable getting down. This is the SDNN levels, which is the best predictor of heart rate variability. And most interesting thing is, they have a form training zone before competition. They had a Grand Prix, and before the Grand Prix, they have a duration for form training. They are decreasing the intensity of the trainings and try to super compensation before the matches. As you can see, the heart rate variable getting higher. But during the competition, you can see that heart rate variable, mostly according to the stress, is getting lower than the detraining term. It means that match stress, or during the competitions, our players' sympathetic system gets. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Rafal. Rafal, how do you pronounce it? Rafal? Rafal.
Yeah.
And Tuba. Thank you very much. Very good presentations. And I think they were both very good examples on what is going on when you bridge science and practice. You try to bridge it into football in, here in Turkey, which is difficult. And you've done it excellently with your team in Poland. So very good examples. Yeah, Rafal? Maybe use this transportable one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to say something to your presentation because it was very close to my job last years. If somebody asks me in Poland, from doesn't matter which discipline, we don't have money. What we can do for monitoring? First of all, and one thing I will say, let's buy this belt from Polar or another company equipment because you can check really a lot. When I work with the basketball team, we use it like a heart rate variability every morning. We use it during the session on the same belt during the session, heart rate intensity, and even if we give for the players individual program. You know that young players like some application. They connect with the mobile phone and they can do training session on the intensity which you want. Only one belt, small invest, and really a lot of information. And the second thing, what you speak about this first part about soccer shoes, I think that this is one of the biggest problem in modern football, that players don't choose really good soccer shoes, they choose modern shoes. This is totally different. And sponsors need, to explain something. It's not good especially for young players, and I agree totally that it is one of the biggest problem for young players.
Okay, so let me just try to conclude this session. Rafal, you were talking on a plethora of things, and they were all very, very interesting. And to an expert like myself in this area, we could talk for hours and hours on each of your slides. So very informative, and I think you got away with basically touching upon everything in your area. So I really enjoyed the presentation, and I hope you did as well. So thank you very much. You were touching upon the future, and I think it was very interesting that you highlighted the way that you would like to shape your athletes by turning to other types of sports. What are your considerations? How would you justify this choice? If you could elaborate just a little bit on it.
I know the most important for me is that to make a very good team in an academy to everyday working, because like you said with the scientists, I understand very well why clubs doesn't want to work with the scientists, because it's only short time to come in, do something, and go out, and you don't know every single session. So it's the same in our club. I can't improve our young players without people which working every day with them. So if we have some plan, for cooperation with not only one but few universities in Szczecin even, so the most important is to cooperate all together. So we need to improve these people to help them with the knowledge, so for some courses even to understand each other, to speak on the same level. This is the most important, speak on the same level. So I'm very happy that, not happy, but a little bit happy that I thought that it is in our country this problem with cooperation, big cooperation between universities and the clubs. But it's not only in our country, but for all people I want to say that let's try this, because it's very important. Don't close for science, but let's speak as much as possible, because only in this way you can improve your players. But I know a lot of coaches they thought that they know everything. Any person know everything, so that is important to speak in the same language. Yes, soccer language and science language in the same language.
Yeah, really, and that was also your concluding remarks at the end, right? That you should never stop educating yourself as a coach. And I guess we can only educate ourselves if we turn to science or if we discuss with other ones that has a knowledge that we do not possess. So I think it'll be valuable to keep trying to go into the clubs here in Antalya and maybe even start with the academy, because they might be more open, because they don't have as many hands in their team as the professional top team or the senior team.
Yes, I think that it's important that science should learn even soccer. Yes, if you are a scientist, you have to learn soccer. Yeah. If you want to compare, because if I start working with a basketball team, first of all, I start to learn a lot about basketball, because I know a little bit. I know a little bit in a strength and conditioning, but this is a different discipline. So I want to know everything as much as possible, to speak in the same language with the coaches, with the players. And this is important, yes, in the both way.
Yeah, absolutely. And turning to your presentation, Tuba, you touched upon two very interesting cases. To be honest, I don't know much about bow leg and how it affects growth and performance as such, but you opened the door to that topic, and that was very interesting. And the heart rate variability is definitely also useful in trying to optimize the whole training process. So, I mean, what other topics do you turn your attention to as a researcher for now? Do you have any other research topics that you would highlight for the group of us?
Now we are planning to digging the Genovarum more deeply, because we would it's very valuable for us to study with elite athletes, professional football players. We can see the clear situation of the 10 years, 15 years football practices, what are they doing, what it is doing to football players. So it's very valuable for us to that. And as exercise physiologist, my research area is so wide. I'm especially interested about the muscle. We are doing genetic researches also. We have a project for now. I hope we can handle it. We are just apply for it. Talent identification is really important for all of the sport branches. And the genetic structure of the muscle is really important for that, especially also in football. So we are trying to develop a new method, non-invasively, to determine the muscle fiber distribution. So it's really important, because if you would like to analyze the muscle distribution of a player, you need to get sample from their muscles. So you can't do it to child. It's not ethical and you shouldn't do it. But it's really important to determine the genetical structure of the muscle, because when you train a player, you are totally changing the structure. If you are sprinting, if you are using explosive power trainings, your fiber types changing. So, for example, you have a unique child which has really dominant explosive power. If you have endurance training to those children, you just lose it. For example, you have Usain Bolt, but you don't know it, and you apply wrong training, it's a really big waste. So we are trying to develop a new method, non-invasive method, to determine the muscle fiber distribution. It will be very important to use it in talent identification for all of the sport branches.
Absolutely. I think that is a very, very contemporary subject actually to be dealing with, because there's so much money in football involved, and there's so much money put into transfers and so on. And if you create the right machine, so to say,
Uh-huh.
from your academy. If you develop it from the academy, there's a huge potential in actually running the whole club by just selling one player. It has been done in Denmark with specifically one club, FC Nordsjælland, that thrives from big sales of young players that has this massive talent, and somehow they have identified the talent at an early stage, but also shaped it in the right direction. And I think also having 5 substitutes create this more powerful football that also you touched upon, Rafal, that maybe in the future we will see even more powerful football.
It seems like that.
But then we need to actually have the right players, right, to be able to adhere to those demands, meaning that we should be very clear about what type of football players that we're dealing with and what type of position then they should actually have on the pitch. And doing that non-invasively is definitely the way to go. So congratulations on that subject.
It will be a combination of different methods, because we are trying to make an algorithm of different methods, because there are research about non-invasive methods, but they only can predict 60% or 40% clearly with the biopsy samples. So we are aiming to increase the determination level to reach the 90% level to determine non-invasively the fiber type distribution. I hope we can, but we are at the beginning. We are just applying the project, I hope.
Yeah. Well, good luck. Good luck on that, and we could keep talking for a long time, so maybe we should end the session here. Any questions that we may take from the audience? Otherwise, I don't know how the plan looks. But
Yeah, I think we should wrap it up, because we have a next session coming. But thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention. I would like to ask a big round of applause for Miss Tuba MELEKOÐLU and Mr. Rafal BURYTA for joining us on the stage today. And our super sub moderator who saved the day, please give a big hands for Mr. Casper. Also